Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight in this stream, I want to talk about a couple of issues. First is we've got this massive amount of protests, riots going on, and we have a lot of people out there, a lot of people that are sympathetic towards the rioters. We have people, very prominent YouTubers, for example, that are, of course, very sympathetic towards not only the protesters, but specifically the looters, the rioters, etc. Right. So, additionally, we do have a lot of people out there that are on the side of the police, adamantly on the side of the police, and law and order, rule of law, and they in this particular example, in this particular incident that's been happening, this moment in our history, they tend to be on the side that is actually supporting Trump right now. And the people that are supporting the rioters and everything now are, of course, they tend to be on the side of the Democrats currently. And yet only several months ago, it was reversed. It was the Republicans that were the protesters that were violating social distancing norms and whatnot. And it was the Democrats that were calling them simpletons and saying how they didn't understand how severe the disease, the virus that's going around is, and that they shouldn't be doing this at this time. We've had CNN, for example, put out a paper today, an article today, addressing whether or not it's safe to attend a Trump rally. And just the headline alone is phrased in such a way that it's just gross. Because here's the deal. I'm not a fan of the mainstream media, right? I've talked about that many times before on here. The consensus in the mainstream media is against national security. It's against intervention. It's against any degree of defending the West. It's completely focused on, well, ratings first and foremost. And right now we're living in the era of cringe. And you get good ratings right now if you say war bad. That goes for Fox News, that goes for CNN, that goes for MSNBC. And you might say, well, MSNBC, though, don't they talk tough about Russia sometimes? Don't they call out Trump for being weak on Russia? Yeah, but my friends, it's superficial. I've watched NBC, I should say MSNBC, for a long time. Like back when, like I remember watching Obama get inaugurated as president, and I was watching that on MSNBC, right? Like I've been watching them for over a decade. I got news, dudes. That whole veneer of them having a tough foreign policy stance all of a sudden, that's only despite the Orange Man. That's only because Orange Man bad, and Orange Man likes Russia. Orange Man owes money to Russia. If Mitt Romney was president right now instead of Donald Trump, and Mitt Romney was talking tough on Putin, they would be saying, oh, look at this Republican maniac. He's trying to start World War III. Look at him. He's like another Bush. But it's Trump. So they say, oh, Trump's weak on Russia. It's like, okay, that's true. But let's keep it real. If Trump's out and you guys get power, you guys are going to cut to Russia as well. And another evidence, or, well, I mean, there are a ton of data points in this. But let's not forget that Democrats supported the Iran deal, the nuclear deal with Iran, where we just lift sanctions on them, we trade with them, and then they get nuclear weapons so that they can destroy Israel, while being legitimized as somehow a member of the international community. So the mainstream media is bunk and junk. It's a joke. It is a binge of cringe. And now, because things have flipped, because things have reversed, and now it's the Democratic masses, the Black Lives Matter crowd, the woke bros that are doing the protests. Now CNN puts out an article saying, well, you know, is it safe to attend a Trump rally, right? Because of social distancing and COVID and all this stuff. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, at most that Trump rally is going to have like what, 10, 15,000 people, 20,000 people? How many people were at these mass protests? You can see drone footage of the crowds all together. I mean, you just look, there's this one street in Los Angeles where you look and there's at least 10,000 people there all clustered. It goes as far as the eye can see. Same with Washington. And you're trying to tell me that Trump can't have a rally because that would risk spreading COVID around. Oh, but the Black Lives Matter people, oh no, but it's different. You don't understand, Kevin. It's different. They're protesting racial injustice. They're protesting, evil white men. So we don't have to worry about COVID with them, but we have to worry about COVID if Trump throws a rally. It's like, I'm not a fan of Trump, but I'm also not a fan of Black Lives Matter. So I don't think either of them should be able to do this. I think we should just have a pause on these huge social events right now until the pandemic is mitigated and a vaccine is out there. I think that's the best course of action in terms of saving lives, preserving economic stability. But I got to keep it real. If we're going to be fine and the mainstream media is going to give a pass, not just a pass, but cheer on all these Black Lives Matter protesters and say, good job, how woke, and they're going to praise Nike and all these other corporations that are basically on the side of Black Lives Matter. Well, you don't then get to say, oh, but Trump can't have a rally. It's pretty clear whose side you're on at that point, that you're not neutral, that you don't care about the science, that you, at the end of the day, are just a hack for the progressives and these people trying to start a race war, literally. So, I got a few things to say on this, because a lot of the people that are critical of Black Lives Matter right now, they're just blatant Trump supporters. It's funny, I've talked about on a recent stream about how, I was repeatedly canceled by the neoliberals, who are basically like super progressive, social democrat, lefty type people. I got canceled repeatedly by them. And then, of course, they did another round of big unfollowing me when I tweeted stuff like it was okay to be white, and I tweeted support for Derek Chauvin, or not Derek Chauvin, I should say. I tweeted support for Garrett Rolfe. Derek Chauvin is a piece of shit, but Garrett Rolfe, of course, he's being given the same treatment as Chauvin as if those two cases are identical. They're not. Derek Chauvin killed a man and exceeded the purview of his job. There was no imminent threat there. Whereas in Garrett Rolfe's case, there was a taser fired. The guy stole his taser, resisted arrest. Of course, George Floyd resisted arrest too. That never really gets discussed. But it pales in comparison to what happened, of course. But here's the deal, right? These people, they mass cancel me, right? Repeatedly, over and over again, over all kinds of statements that I make. Like, oh, you sound like a right-winger. You sound like a conservative. It's like, I'd rather be a conservative than a woke bro progressive. I'd rather be right-wing than one of these aggressive lunatics, lemmings, who just goes along to be woke because they're worried about getting canceled. It's like, I got news. Everybody gets canceled sooner or later, because the only way you don't get canceled is if you sell out on everything and you have no principles. Because if you have principles, at some point, a line will be crossed, and then people will look at you and say, how can you be stubborn on this? You're not woke, bro. We're canceling you. So why not just preempt it? Why not just get it over with? Why not save your dignity and say, I'm standing by my principles right now. I'm not going to be led an inch leftward. So here's the deal. In the time since, I have had quite a few Trump supporters and stuff come around to follow me and everything. And a lot of them are nice people. We disagree on a lot of stuff. I know that there are oftentimes Trump supporters in the chat, and, I appreciate them coming here because, they get to see a perspective that they probably don't see too much. If you're watching Tucker Carlson and then you watch me, you're going to get a really different take on things. But, on Black Lives Matter and stuff, there's some common ground. No doubt there's some common ground. We both support the police here. So, there's always area for agreement. And these people don't tend to be the cancel type. They don't tend to be the woke type that are going to cancel you if you say anything that they don't necessarily agree with. In fact, in that sense, it is funny because the old stereotype of the Trump voter is this very stubborn, stuck in his ways type of hermit or whatnot. But the reality is that a lot of these progressives have less of an open mind to hearing other points of view than like Trump supporters. Like, again, I'm not a fan of Trump. And to those who are in the chat or who will watch this later on, you might prepare yourself, because we're going to disagree on a lot of stuff going forward, right? Like I'm a supporter of, well, basically, a strong military, a strong foreign policy. I'm a fan of George W. Bush. I'm a fan of John Bolton. But on this specific issue, we have some common ground. And it's funny to me how people would think of like the neo-lib community, for example, as being somehow closer ideologically to me than like these much further right Trump supporters and stuff. But the funny thing is, it's not just about the ideology, it's also about character, and it's about respect, and it's about having an open mind. And the reality is, at least thus far, I'm open to revising this if things change going forward, but thus far the Trump people have been more pleasant towards me by and large than like these socialist and aggressive neolibs. So that's just the reality of the matter. A lot of these people, earlier on, I was in a Discord discussion, and we got flooded by a bunch of the neolibs. And one of those neolibs in particular actually blocked me first. Usually it's me doing the blocking. I usually preempt that. I usually say, well, this is intractable, so I'm just going to get it over with. I'm blocking them now. I'm not going to be the one getting blocked. But of course, this particular neolib blocked me far earlier on, and I wasn't as up to speed or on the ball, and I was pretty busy, so I didn't really have time to preempt that on my end. One of the few people who blocked me first, right? So they come in, and they're trying to basically talk to me and all this stuff and everything, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, but why would you then go about wasting your time coming in here to try to desperately talk with me when you're the one who blocked me? So if I block you, you've been written off. Like, I'm not interested in talking with you. I'm not going to go and be like, oh, this account I just blocked yesterday. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in some Discord channel that they're present in, and I'm going to try to talk with them. It's like, why? I blocked them. I have no interest in ever thinking about that person again for the rest of time. I mean, but with these people, they'll block me, or they'll get blocked, or they'll constantly spam me with cringe and call me dangerous and whatnot, or a racist, or a right winger and all this stuff. And it's like, that nobody should be listening to me, that I'm dangerous and everything. And then I'll live rent free in their head for months, and they'll constantly be talking about me all the time. Whereas for me, when I block people, with very few exceptions, only if they're very prominent, in which case, maybe a tweet a month or something on average, with respect to them, if it involves me, sort of drama, that kind of stuff, 2 tweets, that kind of thing. All the others, they're just a dime a dozen. They're cringe and blocked. It's done. They're written off. There's no more. It's not like I'm sitting here like, oh, that person I blocked 3 months and 16 days ago, I wonder how they're doing. Maybe I should go and talk with them. I wonder what they're up to. It's like, no, they were blocked for a reason. They're done. They're done. Why would I want to think about them? Let alone go to the effort of trying to come into a Discord so that I can interact with them. No, once you block somebody, you're essentially saying, I do not care about you. I don't have any interest in paying any degree of attention to you, because there is not enough time in the universe to afford to this level of cringe and toxicity that is out there. And where is it coming from? It's coming from the far left, the social democrats, the aggressives. In my experience, very little from the far right. Now, don't get me wrong, the Fuentes fans, those kinds of people, they are absolutely ridiculous. But let's keep it real. They're not even that right wing. You look at their economics, they're basically socialists. Like, they're national socialists. They only want socialism for whites or whatever, or what they perceive as whites, because, of course, let's keep it real. Let's just keep it real here. Nick Fuentes himself, as Billy Wong would say, he's the Mexican virgin. He's not even really like, he's not like Aryan or whatever. He would get canceled too. And of course, if you get canceled in their ethno state, Yeah. Well, you won't be tweeting anymore. You'll have bigger issues to deal with. It's a little bit of a bigger deal there, but I'm gonna see. I'm gonna invite a couple of these guys on right now, just so there's some Hawks I know, some cool people I know. See if they're down. I know it's late right now. I didn't have anybody on last night. I was planning to invite a few people, but then I was like, oh, there's too much stuff to say, and I want to give my thoughts too much on this right now. We had an active chat. We had about 20 people or whatever. It was good. Lots of questions, and sometimes you just gotta go do a solo stream, but tonight, I'm open to having a couple Hawks on. We'll see what happens. So just gonna send out these links, and then we'll go back and we'll talk a little bit more. So yeah, it was interesting because with this whole riot sort of culture that's going on right now, the praise of the riots, the defense of the riots, it's really disgusting how you would expect a more responsible approach from the most respected figures in mainstream media, right? They're somehow supposed to be seen as above the fray, at least traditionally speaking. We all know that they're not, but you get the idea. They're supposed to at least maintain some degree of impartiality or condemn heinousness, no matter which side of the aisle it occurs on. Trevor Noah, his response to this was utter filth. Don Lemon's been a joke. Jake Tapper, joke. All these guys have been a joke. So it's become a partisan issue, and they're going to play ball for the rioters. They'll to some extent distance themselves from the literal rioters, but it's a veneer of distance. It's a veneer of distance. We all know how they actually feel. There's a reason that all these corporations now are supporting them. They see this as the future. They see it as, oh, well, we better be woke because we don't want to get canceled. We don't want them to boycott our products. We don't want them to stop watching CNN, so we have to kowtow. And it's gotten so bad that the culture itself is such that it's not even like they're forced to do anything. They're only going to hire people that genuinely sympathize with these people now. It's really unfortunate, because you're not even going to have any dissenting voices of reason. Like, imagine I was on CNN. They brought me on a panel or whatever, and they were going over this narrative about how, oh, it's always like, it's always the white people that are killing these innocent black people. I would just list off some stats. I'd never get invited back, but you get the idea, right? We're gonna see if Billy Bong's down. Maybe Billy Bong's down. I know it's late where he is too, but I'll always give him the invite if he's down. If Billy, if you're listening. We got Jaeger in the studio, so that's cool. That's cool. We'll get Jaeger in here. Let me just go back, exit Discord here. Let's just take a look. Obviously it's late right now, long day. Don't have too many people here tonight, but it's big up to those who have come in and are with us here. I'm just going to remove the hawk now so you can see the conversation. Hello, Jaeger. How's it going?
And I must say, that is a pretty sexy hawk.
Oh, 100%. That is a fine hawk. I mean, look at that hawk right there. I mean, that hawk knows. That hawk has game. That hawk knows, man.
I think its name is Mike. Last name Hawk.
Mike Hawk. Oh man, what's so sad? On my meme page and stuff, I've had a few people over the last year that have tried to woke scold me and call me a warmonger and an imperialist and an orientalist and all that. And I noticed on a few occasions that in a couple of people, their last name was Hawkley. And I always say, I'm like, oh, how disappointing. You had such great potential with the last name such as yours to join the Hawk gang. And instead you post this cringe. I am disappointed,
Yeah. I mean, not everybody can have a great name, so.
No, I mean, it's rare.
I guess you could always change it too, but.
That's true.
How are things in Canada tonight?
Too woke for my taste, to be honest. How about you?
It's pretty calm. Not too.
That's good.
No protests, so I did see there was a protest in Toronto today.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
then
man.
the other news I saw across the world was Brazil. So Brazil had something like 45,000 new COVID cases today, and they're up to 1 million cases overall.
Oh,
So
man, we got Uriel Suarez. I just want to address a comment from Uriel Suarez. He say, please don't tell me that stat is more white people are killed by police bullshit, as it is about percentage and whole numbers. Well, I got news. Yes, in terms of percentage, it's far more blacks that are killed by police than whites, even though in absolute terms it's about twice as many whites that are killed by black or by cops than blacks. However, you cannot divorce that percentage there from the disproportionate high percentage in terms of crime rate. So blacks encounter cops a lot more. They commit a lot more crime on average in the United States, at least. And so therefore, the percentage is higher in terms of blacks being killed by police more. That isn't a defense. That means that they are committing crime a lot more. And of course that's proven by the evidence. And so we have Billy Bong in the studio as well. We're going to bring Billy Bong on here. Let's give a warm welcome here, a hawk welcome to Jaeger and Billy. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on tonight. How's it going, Billy?
Hello. I was in the waiting room.
Oh, man.
hopefully you didn't get too bored.
But okay, so wait, isn't it about dead people?
Tonight?
No, I'm saying the cops killing people. Isn't it about dead people?
Well, no.
You said the percentage that matters, not the whole numbers. I would figure the dead people matter. The whole number of dead people, like
it's just a percentage. Like let's keep it real. Like if there were 2 black people in the country and like one of them was a thug or whatever and got shot by a cop, that's worse because that's 50%. Versus if like I don't know 800 whites were killed or whatever, it's like, oh, that's a bigger problem. It's 50%, bro. It's 50%, bro. It's the percent, bro. It's the percentage, bro.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, if 20 people were killed in total, the percentage matters. The per capita matters. So like 9 are black, let's say. Wouldn't the amount of total dead people matter in general?
No, that's racist. That's racist math, Billy.
I can only stay for like 15, 20 minutes because it's extremely late. But
yeah,
what's going down?
And I think it's important too to point out situations like the George Floyd situation where the cops are actually bad and hold them accountable when they do actions like that. I know there's internal affairs and there's also bureaus of investigation that go on police departments. And I think some of the times when police, whether it's white or black, do something like that, it should be made notice to the public, especially if they get convicted in the court, just to let the public know that the bad police officers that go outside their bounds of the law are being convicted. So then there's no narrative that, oh, they're getting away. It's because there is due process, and after they go through the due process, that should be mainstream news that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But one of the things in the Georgia case, I don't know if you guys followed how they charged that officer.
Yeah.
Well, the investigation department said they were unaware the DA was pressing the charges. Like he went above because normally they do the investigation, they turn over their information, what they found to the DA, and the DA, they either recommend him to pursue charges or not. But the DA, before that was complete, pressed the charges on the police officer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, that shit's going to get shut down unless the judge is just going to capitulate too.
Well, I'm sure they'll look for a favorable jury.
Huh. Yeah.
So one of the
the
other thing that's interesting about that case, 2 weeks ago, the DA said that tasers were a deadly weapon, and when he was punishing another cop, but in this case, they were not a deadly weapon.
Apparently not.
Oh man, that's the double standard right there. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a losing battle. We're not going to get a lot of good cops.
It's going to be fun.
Oh man, it's going to be an absolute mess if he gets convicted on anything. I mean, what I'm anticipating if they do somehow manage to get a conviction out of this, the media is going to celebrate and champion this as like some great victory against like racism or whatever. Literally.
But it won't quell their thirst.
Oh, for sure. There will always be more blood to be sacrificed on the altar of wokery, for sure.
Like in Seattle and Portland, they're saying no justice, no peace. Like, what did they do in Seattle or Portland? Like, and what could those jurisdictions do to Atlanta? What could they do to Minneapolis?
Just release all black men from jail.
Well, they already tried that in Seattle. Seattle was notorious for releasing violent criminals back because the DA there didn't want to charge anybody. It's like the police had no power in Seattle anyway.
Oh man,
it's
a mess, man. Seattle is just I mean, the way that they handle things over there, it's a lesson in a playbook of what not to do if you're trying to govern a city.
So,
I mean, they're not doing anything about this anarchist commune that's sprouted up. Like, because those militias are going to go there, they're going to go vigilante on it. It's going to be like a bloodbath, or at least there's the potential for it to become a bloodbath. And they're not doing anything. They're just going to let it happen.
I imagine the cops are going to stand in and stop the right-wing militias from going in. And that's going to be the ultimate irony in this case.
Because the anarchists were defended by the state. Yeah, it's like standing in solidarity with our statist comrades. Our police comrades.
But my theory on Seattle and that zone is they're going to keep it. It's going to be a thing from now on. And they're going to use it as an excuse for people to go there and tour Seattle. Be like, hey, come view our autonomous zone in Seattle. After that, go to their bubblegum wall, and it'll be the new Seattle thing.
Yes. It's going to be like the new bubblegum wall. It's going to be like, in here you get to see where some communist overlord is sending all the disobedient people in his commune to work the crops and be re-educated to learn Marx. And it's like they got the concentration camps and stuff. It's like 2 huts or whatever in there. It's like this used to be a wealthy neighborhood, and now it's a Stalinist dystopia.
Yeah, Trevor Noah. You brought up Trevor Noah before. That video was retarded, bro.
You saw it, man. You saw his reaction. No, dude, he was just drunk. That you don't understand. The cops, they should have known he was just drunk. Sure, he fired a taser, and sure, he fought them, but like he was drunk, man. As if being drunk is
that's why he was called. That's why the cops were called, because he was drunk and passed out.
No, I love how Trevor, he says there, he's like, well, this all could have been averted.
Could have just let him walk home.
He could have let him walk home.
It's like, walk home.
He didn't kill anybody yet. He was driving drunk. He didn't kill anybody yet. He was innocent. He was a good kid.
And you notice how mad is silent.
South Africa, and meanwhile, look at South Africa now. South Africa is like the baby rape capital of the world.
Oh man!
And they're running out of water.
It's a mess. No, it's a mess. Trevor Noah, though, the way that he talked about it,
lame, bro.
He's not even funny.
Dude, who is he? He just took over a fucking huge platform somehow. That's it. He's not funny at all.
He's not funny.
He's unfunny, completely unfunny. Yeah. Not smart, racist.
Yeah. Like the only thing that's funny about him is that it's not a shtick. That
hates his white part of his fucking ancestry. Bro, he's not half white. Come on. He's in South Africa. They call him colored. The mulattoes, the biracials.
Oh man. No, Jon Stewart, I guess, handed him the show or whatever. So now he's got this big platform. It's like, I mean, yeah, we're going to hand over the Daily Show to this guy. It's like, he's going to tell you about how, should just let him go home. Like,
as if South Africa, who's been here like 2 fucking years, is going to tell you about America, bro. Go fuck
it. America's racist, man. It's like,
Fucking go back to South Africa, you fucking prick.
And the worst part is he replaced a legend like Jon Stewart. That was awesome. Like watching the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. But then we got Trevor Noah now.
Oh no, I used to like Jon Stewart. I mean, I'm sure if I were to watch those old Jon Stewart clips today, I'd be like, "Oh man, this guy sounds like Tulsi Gabbard," because I remember he was like, But same with Bill Maher. I like Bill Maher. I think Bill Maher can be funny. But I watched his conversation with Bill Kristol where he's like, "You can't defend the Iraq War, man. How can you defend this? How can you defend this?" And I'm like, dude, I mean, it's just
Saddam.
It's amazing. Saddam, dude. It's like you make all these jabs, and you make these jokes about religion, and you did religious and all this stuff. It's like Saddam used religious terrorists to go and like blow people up. I mean, the dude was a state sponsor of terrorism, a huge one. So trying to get nukes, gas his own people. But Bill Kristol's the crazy one that you must laugh at and make fun of. It's like because he wanted to take out Saddam. So,
well, that's pretty much every Republican he brings on the show.
Well, I mean, a lot of the Republicans agree with him now. A lot, like the Trump Republicans, they're like Iraq War bad, Bush bad, like the Tucker type. They sound like John Kerry people, like because Trump was tweeting about like ending the endless wars the other day, and I'm like, he sounds like one of those college hippies that was like praising the Dixie Chicks. Yeah, he sounds like the Dixie Chicks from like 2005 or whatever. I'm like, you guys used to like make fun of these people and call them, weak and communists and stuff, and now you're making the same talking points. It's sad. So
it's almost like if America got out of the world, the wars would stop. Which
they thought there would be no more war. No more war. It's not like Russia would like invade everywhere and take territory and stuff. That wouldn't happen.
Who cares, bro? It's not us.
It's not us until it is.
Fuck the lessons of World War II. Who cares?
Oh man, no. The lessons from World War II was that Neville Chamberlain did a good job because he got peace for 3 years or whatever. So peace is good, right? Everybody likes peace. Yeah, he literally quoted Neville Chamberlain. Yeah, he says Trump literally quoted Neville Chamberlain. That's hilarious. Like why would you quote a loser? It's like he talks about winners, but all he knows how to do is like just hype up losers and stuff. So
taking L's.
Taking L's with Big Debt on. Big L. Huge L. Like, because people talk about like the squad and all this and everything. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, the squad isn't just Omar and those people. It includes Trump and everything else. And there's Squad L. But, there's good news out there because there's also Squad Dub. Guess who's Squad Dub? That's the hot gang. Squad W.
How, like, do you know, like, the big four of heavy metal? Have you heard about that?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, there was a tour a while back. It was all four of the earlier thrash metal bands: Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax, and they all toured together. So I called them the Big Four because of that.
Oh yeah,
and just another nickname for them.
Oh man,
Squad.
The Squad. Well, no, everybody thinks of like Ilhan Omar and all these people now when they say the Squad. It's like, no, there are more than one.
Them as Americans over like us. We're the Nazis.
I mean, she literally wanted to abolish the police too. She wanted to use this excuse of police brutality to abolish the police. It's like, as if, like, we all know that accidents and even bad apples will happen now and then. So you just throw the whole thing out and say, oh, we're done. Oh, there was one bad apple. Let's just get rid of the police.
Yeah, but see, if they abolish the police, then some guy who's a right winger in Minnesota is just gonna like go by her house and fucking rape her or something, and then and then she's gonna be like, we have to do something about this.
We should fund the police force. we need to create a police force. If I'm elected again, I'll create a police force so that we can stop all this crime and right-wing thugs and stuff. And it's like, okay. We have a police again. I mean, oh man.
Ilhan.
Well, Ilhan Omar. I mean, yeah, obviously this stream tonight is titled Controversy because a lot of people that would think of themselves as kind of close to us ideologically or whatever, they're really not going to be fans of what we have to say about these issues because, of course, they've taken the woke pill. They've taken the cringe pill. They have acquiesced their dignity and they have submitted, they've taken the L, and they've decided, in order to maintain the air of virtue and in order to be cool and stuff still and socially acceptable, they are going to now dust the portraits and sing the praise of like the Black Lives Matter group. So, they're dusting the portraits.
And kiss the black ass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just singing the praise, dusting the portraits, kissing the ass, It's sad. It's sad. Like these people, a lot of them were.
I see random, bro. Today in the city, I saw some random white hipster fucking herb carrying a little tiny sign that says Black Lives Matter and just walking with it by himself. He's just walking somewhere. He's holding it in front of his chest, and I just laughed. I'm just like, what? Really?
When I see that kind of stuff, I just think like he's screaming virtue. He's like, I'm good. Don't think that I'm one.
Good one.
I'm a good one. I'm a good one. It's like you could still date me. You can still
start playing the knockout game.
Oh man. I'm gonna send Henry an invite. I know Henry was streaming earlier, but he's here tonight. Big up, Henry. What's going on?
Streams pop up on my fucking shit, bro. What the hell?
Yeah, no, he was streaming tonight. Jaeger, you were on too, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a quiet night. We were hoping to see some action. Tomorrow may be better because there's going to be protesters at the Trump rally, which is I mean, there's no winning COVID at this point. So
no, for sure. There's no winning COVID because CNN's going to write articles about or do segments about how it's important that everybody attend these protests because racial injustice, it's a huge problem and it's systemic, bro. But then they're going to criticize the Trump rallies. It's like, why can't we just say enough to both of them until this whole pandemic thing goes away, So.
For sure. But getting back to the Chamberlain thing, I think I said this the other night, but that day with the Munich Agreement, like Hitler ordered his people to invade Czechoslovakia regardless of the agreement. But they went in there, they made the agreement the deal of peace. Like they were planning on arresting Hitler that night because they didn't want to go to war at that point with the British and the French and possibly Russia. But since they just gave it to him, and then they had got those factories in Czechoslovakia without having to fight for them, he was able to boost his military numbers to be a presence there in Europe. Like those factories were the key to the German war machine, and they were just given away. If Chamberlain would have stood his ground, there would have been no World War II. Well, there still might have been in Japan, but there wouldn't have been one in Europe because they would have arrested Hitler that night.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's because most people don't want war. Like, that's the thing. It's like a lot of these people out there that talk about how war is bad and everything. It's like, yeah, we know, we get it. The problem is we live in a world that's divided between dictators and the free. If everybody was free and all the world was democracies, we wouldn't have war very often because, like, war is a result of that division. We want to free the world. So, and then we can have peace. A lasting peace, a meaningful peace. Because what Neville Chamberlain got, that wasn't a meaningful peace. That was some pigeon-ass cringe. And he bought a few years at the expense of turning a war that would have maybe killed a few 100,000. Or, as Jaeger's saying, would have just ended with, just Hitler being taken away versus 50 million dead in Europe. But we got Henry on tonight. What's up, Henry?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Just streaming. Yeah. Oh man,
Henry, what's your channel? Because you ain't popping up on my.
It's American Madhouse.
I wonder why it hasn't. Did you make a new one, or you just?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what the last channel you followed me on was.
American Empire, I guess.
No. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that one's gone. So it's American Madhouse is the one I'm on now. So.
Right, no wonder.
Oh man, somebody was saying in the chat that that Billy always sounds so high.
Is that ironic?
Because he is. I think.
Billy Bong always sounds so high.
He always sounds high.
Yeah, like you can't hear the bong rips. I hear the bubbles going off in the bong, like
ripping bongs.
Reloads, bro. But it is like an odd statement to make. It's like, really?
Yeah. Billy has his weed. I have my booze. That's the way it goes.
Oh man.
You know, that serial killer, he's always killing people, man.
Oh man, I like this comment from Arthur. He says, "The lower the pitch, the higher the high."
Exactly. The slower.
So what are you guys on about tonight? It just says controversy. It looks like.
Yeah, I could do controversy stuff. I guess we're triggering aggressives tonight.
The aggressives.
Yeah, the aggressives, man.
I still like the name Progs because it sounds like frogs. So you have the
I know,
version of progressive.
I like aggressive because there was this argument from a while back about how, is it right to call them progressives? Should we try to re-own the label progressive? This was from people that were more on the left versus should we call them regressive? And for me, I look at this and I'm like, I just call them aggressives. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
I've seen that. I just call them progressives, man. Like, I've seen people that are like, we should call them regressive or whatever. Like, to me, it's like, nah, fuck it. Like, they're progressives.
Progressive, right? I mean,
I'll fucking call them progressives, slander them, and then they'll be like, oh, you're a fucking reactionary to my progressive social agenda. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I'm a fucking reactionary. Like, eat shit.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You sound like a right-winger. That's what I get. Or you sound like a Republican. Or you sound like a conservative. It's
well, that's, I'm not. So, like, whatever.
Reese gets that too, though. Reese gets that too. People have said to Reese, they're like, dude, you sound like
that's the thing, man. Everybody that's not on board with the progressive social agenda, they get that shit. You're gonna get that shit if you're not on their fucking side. And like, there's a right-wing element that's similar, but they're not as widespread. They don't have the support of like the mainstream, not in the same way anyway. Like, everyone is like, they fucking hate racists and fascists and all of that. But these fucking progressive assholes can come out with straight up Marxist, Leninist bullshit and, and also racist shit. And people just jump on board with it. It's fucking disturbing.
I love when they say, well, bro, that's not racism. That's just prejudice. So you're prejudiced. What the fuck?
Yeah. That's the thing.
You can't be racist.
Racism is like...
you can't be racist against whites, though, because whites are the ones who are in the power, bro. So
it's kind of an academic thing, or I don't know how you put it. Like, they've tried to redefine the term into such a way to where they can basically be racist and not get labeled racist.
Yes.
And it's so clear that that's what they're doing. And it's like, oh, you can be bigoted toward white people, but not racist. It's like, well, aren't those both bad? Like, I mean, like, fuck off. You're being a fucking piece of shit. That's the point here. They call it whatever you want. You're being a fucking piece of shit. They call it racist, bigoted. I don't give a fuck. Like, you're being a fucking asshole. It doesn't matter. Like, the term you're using to fucking identify it.
Oh, man. No, it's so dumb. That's such a good point, though, about how they're doing this like academic game so that they can get away with being racist, but say, it's not technically racist because you can't be racist against whites. Like, that's so obvious, too. But if you call them out on it, they'll call you a racist.
Imagine that shit ever came out of your mouth, how dumb you would sound.
Yeah, it's some shit about the power structure. I have this weird sociology definition of racism where it's about the power structure and, insulting people is okay as long as it's not in this power structure. No, you're being a fucking piece of shit and an asshole, and I don't give a shit what fucking label you call it, man. Like, you're being a fucking ass. Like, that's the point. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. We got a question here from Olympian God. He says, when are we going to talk about foreign policy again? I'll do a stream on either Turkey or North Korea tomorrow. But for tonight, I wanted to talk about all this, the riot stuff, everything that's going on right now. So, and it doesn't really relate too much to foreign policy, but I think it's important to talk about because there has to be somebody out there who isn't like a full Tucker Carlson or Trump fan that's calling these people out. There have to be reasonable people out there that say, look, we're not like Trump supporters, but we're not going along with you. We're not going to give an inch to this aggressive filth. So, and I got canceled over that. I got canceled, and I don't care.
Who canceled
you? What did you get canceled for, Kevin?
You're still here.
I said it was okay to be white, so people call me a Nazi and stuff.
No, it's fucking awesome to be white.
dude.
More than okay. Fuck that. It's okay to be white. No, fuck that.
It's awesome to be white. Well, I mean, it's not wrong. Like, let's keep it real. If I had to choose who I wanted to be born as or whatever, or what race, like, I don't care. But white's decent. I'm not going to complain. I'm not proud to be white. Like, I think being proud to be white means you got nothing else going on. So you're gonna be like, well, I guess the most important thing I ever did was be born white, so I'm proud of that. Whereas it's like, I mean, I get it. Obviously, you can be like, you can acknowledge and respect, the history and everything that's there of like, white civilizations and stuff. But it's like, yeah, but you didn't build that yourself. You just happen to be descendant.
It's not even about that, man. It's just these people fucking shitting on white people. Fuck them. Like, fuck all that shit. It's fucking great to be white. Fuck you. Like, I'm fucking white. Eat shit.
Well, I'd rather, I'd rather
this whole fucking thing about like, oh, my heritage is or whatever. Like, who gives a fuck about that? But
no, I would rather be proud to be white than ashamed to be white. I'll say that, like, no question. If I had to choose between the two, it's awesome to be white. But all I tweeted was it's okay to be white, and oh man, that ruffled a lot of
that on
aggressive
like a wall in a college somewhere. So that means they were Nazis and shit.
Yeah, they were Nazis,
man. Nazis did it. Didn't some Nazis in college did that?
Yeah, college Nazis.
Fucking college Nazis, man.
Dude, uni Nazis, man. They're everywhere. I mean, literally, that's not even that far off from what they actually say in sociology, tutorials and stuff. Though often, at least in my experience, when I took a couple sociology courses as electives, they would use examples of white supremacy on campus. And one of those was the posters. People put up posters saying, it's okay to be white at my school. And they used that as an example of white supremacy, which I found kind of funny.
Dude,
it's like
the fucking field of sociology is so fucking sad now. Like, it's almost just like, I hate to say that it's just a lost cause and like completely fucked, because there's been some good work out of it, but like I have seen so much bullshit come out of sociology and like so much just crap. And like the courses I took in it, like there was professors saying stupid shit and kids going along with it, just ideologues, just dumbass shit, like nothing to do with like studies. The studies that they would reference didn't say what they thought they said. It was just such crap, man. Like that whole fucking field. I hate to shit on it as a field because like I said, there was good shit coming in. Like there's certain sociological studies you can do and get good information from. It's been a long fucking time, and it's widespread bullshit in that field that I've seen.
Oh, absolutely. But you're right. Like, it used to be a serious academic I should say department
it was like a science in its infancy where they were trying to like get their ground and like figure things out and do some studies. But where people ran away with it was they took certain studies and tried to extrapolate shit from them that you could not really honestly extrapolate from the fucking studies. And now you have all these fucking professors out there that are just pieces of shit. And it's not just sociology; it's all the branches, the bullshit that branched off of it. Any of the fucking gender studies, race studies bullshit that came out of fucking sociology, as far as I can tell. In philosophy, there was a lot of that in there too, like no doubt. But we could separate it in philosophy. You had there's people that try to like push like philosophy of race, and they push a lot of the sociological bullshit in there too. But you always can in philosophy, you can always fall back to like analytic philosophy and certain other I don't know how you put it, branches where you can weed that shit out because it's about like argumentation and like proving your point. But it exists there as well. So, and in certain other fields, but
guys, I'm going to have to call it a night. It's real late.
Oh yeah. Thanks for coming on, Billy.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Take care.
A little earlier, I could definitely get in, but
yeah,
that's up to you. It's your show. All right.
Oh man, I was working pretty late tonight, so
no, whatever you obviously you have a schedule. So.
yeah. But no, I appreciate you coming on. It is late.
I'll always appreciate it. Good night, guys.
Later, man.
Have a good one. So the Olympian Gods comment in the chat where he says laughs in STEM degree. So I have a little bit different take than you guys on the whole white thing. Like being somebody who's more kind of in a STEM field, I don't really give a shit. It depends on the character of the person. Because really there's only three types of people. There's morons, assholes, and douchebags. And everybody falls into one of those three categories.
Or assholes, dicks, and pussies.
I mean, you can slice it whatever way you want to.
Oh man. Yeah, see, that's the thing with a lot of the stuff that's out there right now. It's just it's becoming the logical conclusion of what essentially started in a way, like what spawned a lot of the just in many ways comedy that we're seeing play out is the concept of intersectionality, where you just kind of blend everything and then say it's like academic or whatever. Because feminism did a lot of good work in terms of getting equal rights and everything, but intersectional feminism, that's where all of a sudden it gets into these sorts of grounds. It's the same thing with a lot of this sort of stuff. Intersectional sociology, all this kind of stuff. It basically can boil down to white's bad, that kind of stuff. And so it's an unfortunate occurrence that's been going on right now, because there are a lot of smart people out there that are either too busy or simply haven't given enough thought to be politically conscious that are going down this rabbit hole. A lot of people that are doing degrees that don't really relate to politics, or they're doing a political science degree, but they want to be woke or whatever. They're just going to go down and they don't really think about what they're going down, but going down into. But the result is that at some point they're going to get tossed to the curb, because you can only be a white ally for so long before you are revealed to be simply white, and that's unacceptable in the view of these people. Let's bear in mind that a lot of the people that are behind Black Lives Matter are literal black nationalists and Marxists. It's literally a Marxist organization. They always do purges if ever they start winning, if ever they get power. There's always going to be a purge. Who do you think is going to be the first to go? Of course, it's going to be the white allies, right? So.
Well, maybe not the white women.
You never know. I mean, I'm just saying, seriously. At the end of the day, there are a lot of white women out there, in particular, that haven't spent that much time focused on politics. And that's not to say anything specifically against women here, because there are a lot of guys that haven't either and are getting sucked into this. And then there are guys that are getting sucked into this too, because they want to be woke and hip and all of this. It's just that there's a vast number of women out there that are posting this kind of stuff that's like, oh, solidarity and everything. They haven't given it much thought at all, right? They haven't given it much thought. They don't really know what they're doing. And because they haven't really given much thought to politics, they don't understand the consequences. They don't understand how massively stupid a statement it is to essentially admit white guilt, to concede that you bear this original sin of whitery or whatever. It's a joke. So
yeah. And some of the victims, they're saying, we were watching some of the chants tonight. Of course, George Floyd, I think everybody's in agreement that is a awful thing the police officer did.
yeah.
But the Breonna Taylor one is a really misfortunate set of circumstances as well. Like, I get that there was a gunfight, but they thought the police were somebody breaking into their house, so the boyfriend, protecting his girlfriend, starts shooting at the police, and then she gets hit through the volley of bullets that are coming from this firefight. Like, she was just a bystander there and ended up getting shot there. And they were trying to do a drug bust, but there were no drugs found in the house, and they broke down the door. It's like a break-in, self-defense kind of thing. And, that's a really bad one as well. So it's...
Yeah, well, that's the problem, is that these things happen. You got a country of 350 million people, and there's, 300 million guns or whatever. And I'm not saying, get rid of the guns. I know some people will make that conclusion. It's like, no, this is just something that happens from time to time. Tragedies happen. It doesn't mean you just get rid of the police like some people want to do. They want to jump on that bandwagon instead of deal with. In other words, these people, at the core of their ideology, they are incapable of accepting justice on an individual level. So, like, if Chauvin gets convicted of second-degree murder here for the George Floyd case, they won't see that as a victory, because they're not going to be satisfied that the perpetrator of that was held to account, because they have to make it a collective thing, black versus white. It has to be systemic, bro. It has to be, the whole department is corrupt. The whole department is that, even though, like, almost every cop has disowned this guy. So, as a maniac, right?
Yeah, and people are protesting in cities where it didn't happen. Like, there was an extreme case that happened. Breonna Taylor was in Baltimore, and then George Floyd was in Minneapolis. So, like, Seattle, Portland, Austin, Denver, like, what are you protesting for? What justice do you want from the Denver Police Department in Denver? Because
that's the thing.
They can't do anything in Minneapolis or Baltimore.
But they would say it's all the same thing. It's all the same white supremacist organization. Like, in other words, it might be a different police department, but it's all whitey controlling it. That's what they would say. It's all white. It's all white.
But I mean, in a lot of these communities, they've already seen what it is through lack of police. Police will drive around the ghettos and let the Ancapistan go on in the ghettos.
Yeah, like Ancapistan, literally.
They have seen it. And then when they go outside the ghetto, some of them get arrested, get put away. Some of them, I think, for crimes that don't, like, petty drug and stuff like that, something you could probably just do parole on. But some serious crimes, like if you're going in committing domestic violence, or you're going in shooting somebody and killing somebody, like a violent crime, you shouldn't be let back on the streets, at least for a while. If it's murder, then it shouldn't be at all for the rest of your life.
Exactly. But here's the thing. This Trevor Noah guy, I don't know if you guys saw the Trevor Noah video where he was saying that they should have let Rayshard Brooks go that night. He was defending Brooks by saying, you don't understand. The man is black and he was drunk, so you should have let him go. After he did a DUI, he was driving under the influence. And Trevor Noah, in that video where he was explaining this, he said, look, yes, he was drinking while drunk, but he didn't kill anybody.
It's I saw that video. I saw that argument, and it's bullshit. It's basically just, are we going to enforce the law about drunk driving or not? And his other complaint was, why are we sending armed police with guns up there to do this? And that was a point I'd made on some of my other streams. I don't remember which specifically. But why are we sending them in there? Well, if we have a law, we have to send in people capable of enforcing it. Because what are you going to do? Send in just some fuckers like to, talk to the guy or whatever? If they cannot, if they're incapable of detaining the person, they're incapable of enforcing the law. Like, that's what it comes down to. If they can't, like, actually detain the guy and arrest him, like, they can't fucking enforce the law because the guy can just slap them around and run the fuck off like he tried to do, and they shot him. And, are there other ways that could have played out? Well, sure. And maybe if they did something different, maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have been worse. Like, maybe he would have fucking killed some people. Like, and if he did, if it was worse, we never would have fucking heard about it.
Oh, for sure.
They should have put him in a chokehold. Made him go to sleep.
I mean, the thing is, this Trevor Noah guy, he does this 30-minute, I guess, monologue on this, or 20-minute monologue on this. And he says, well, I don't know all the parts of it, but he left out the biggest part. Like, I was watching Devin Tracy's analysis of it earlier tonight, and he's like, you left out the biggest part. You left out the fact that, he stole the taser and fired the taser at the cops. That's kind of a big part of the story. He left that out. So, it's like they should just let him go, bro. He was black. He was drunk. Trevor Noah repeated the fact that he was drunk like over a dozen times to try to say that it was a defense, that they shouldn't have laid down the law. They shouldn't have tried to arrest him because he was drunk.
He also ended that video by framing it like, oh, let's not miss the point here. The real point, the real problem is that a black man is dead. And that just, mask off, dude. Like,
you want to know
your issue is that a black guy died. It doesn't have anything to do with the circumstance. It's that someone that looks like you got fucking killed by someone that doesn't. That's what it's about. It's fucking horseshit. Like, that guy, fucking Trevor Noah, he didn't give a fuck. Like, it's pure racist bullshit.
Yeah. And it's worse. It's worse. The moment when he really went mask off, and Tracy pointed this out on his analysis, he said, at one point when Trevor Noah was talking, he said, but here's the thing. It wasn't the perfect case. It's a bit of a muddy case, because he was essentially saying, he can kind of see some argument for why the police did what they did. In other words, a perfect case would be white cop just shoots totally innocent black man. That's the perfect case in his view, because then he can cry racism even louder. So he admitted right there that this is part of an agenda to essentially demonize I guess all American whites, Yeah,
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe that's just the way he was speaking about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like Trevor Noah. I think Trevor Noah, I think
he's an idiot, but
yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. We're living in strange times, and I think it can get a lot worse. I think it can get a lot worse. So.
Oh, certainly. We were talking about academics earlier. Do you know Tommy Curry?
I don't.
It's someone I'm familiar with. It's a philosophy professor of Texas A&M. He he talked about this is someone that wasn't like banned or shouted down or anything. He had a little bit of a controversy at Texas A&M because he was talking about killing white people in context. You can look this up on YouTube. It's on there. The guy's a piece of shit. I even met him. I went to one of his talks. He's like a black guy that is essentially, he's very anti-feminist, but particularly anti-white women. Like, he really fucking hates them. He thinks that the main reason that white people were racist, I think, is because of the women. But like, also he talks about, like, in order to achieve racial equality, we might have to kill some white people. He's a real piece of shit. What? And he never got canceled. Well, he did get canceled a bit, I guess. But this is a guy that was doing talks at universities. At least when I was around, he was still giving out talks, still employed by the state, like preaching this shit. If you just look up Tommy Curry killing whites on YouTube, you could probably find the radio interview he did. It's it's fucking disturbing, and this is something that would never be tolerated. Like if someone on the right was doing something like this, it would be mainstream fucking news, shouted down, like everyone would be freaking the fuck out. This shit is happening in our universities. No one blinks a fucking eye. And, like I talk to these people. I talk to motherfuckers like this, and I deal with it regularly. But
and you're in Texas, so how bad is it in other parts of the country?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's he's a professor, or he used to be. He's not anymore. He was a professor at Texas A&M University, which is like the most conservative campus in Texas. And yeah, I mean,
it'd be one thing if he was in Austin, but it's College Station.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Oh man, that's whack.
Yeah, you should play his fucking. Is there a way I can link you?
I'm just gonna try to find it right now.
I'll link you his audio on this.
Yeah, I can play clips on here that are under 5 minutes long.
Yeah, I think this is under 5 minutes. Okay. It's 5.5 minutes.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, I was just looking up blood alcohol calculator. So Brooks tested at 0.108 when they had him blow into the breathalyzer.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I thought it would be a lot higher.
In order to get that, you would need 8.5 ounce shots of tequila in 4 hours.
Oh really? That doesn't even seem that drunk to me, honestly. Like
so the symptoms would be trouble seeing or focusing, slow reaction, sleepy, stumble often, or lose balance easily.
Yeah, if you're a pussy, I guess. Can't handle your liquor.
Well, I mean, some people, depending on how often you drink.
He'd been sleeping for a minute. He was drunk as shit. He didn't know what city he was in. I linked you.
Yes, he literally didn't.
In the private chat, I sent you the link.
No, I got it. Yeah.
It depends on your butt. So if you drink more often, it takes more to get you drunk. So like
it depends on a lot of factors, like how big you are, your genetics, I think, play a role, how much you drink on the regular. Because like to me, I was thinking when I saw that guy, he didn't know what city he was in. I was like, that dude's a 0.19, gotta be. When it came up 0.108, I was like, oh fuck, like I could probably pass any fucking sobriety test on a 0.108. Like what the fuck is that? 0.108. That's like a fucking Thursday.
Oh man.
It's like a Thursday. You could pass every test except for the breathalyzer. I don't know. Those eye movement tests can be a little bit rough when you're sober. Because I got pulled over once in college and had a sobriety test, and I failed the eye test sober.
Really? I'm pretty sure I've at least once. I think I passed the eye test when I was over the limit.
Did they have you blow?
Oh no. I did the eye test, and I talked to them, and they were like, "Oh, well, you're fucking sober. You did the eye test. You didn't twitch. You're good."
Huh.
Yeah, they pulled me over for a license plate light being out.
That's such a fucking bullshit excuse.
Yep. And then when we stepped out of the car to do the sobriety test, I looked at the license plate, and the license plate light was working. So Yeah, they totally thought, because the area I was coming from, of course, I went to school in Utah, so the area I was coming from is notorious for people drinking. But I knew that going in, so I didn't have anything to drink. So I took one for the team. Everybody else in the car was shit faced, yelling out the window, breathalyze me, while I'm sitting there getting the sobriety test right outside of the car.
Oh, wow.
Fun times in college.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm just shortening this video down to under 5 minutes, and then I will upload it here so we can take a look at this guy's comments. Thomas Curry.
Oh, we're looking to Tommy now?
Yeah, no, we're gonna play. I mean, we'll wrap up the stream kind of soon, but we're gonna get to this guy's comments first. This sounds crazy, so.
So yeah, Arthur, one of the things in Utah too is that people walking, they'll stop them and ask them if they had anything to drink, because underage consumption is enforced in Utah. So like,
Okay.
if you're walking home because you're too drunk to drive, if you're under the age, they can stop you and give you a ticket. Now, if you're over the age, they'll give you a ride home. So it's one of those things, like they don't have a lot to do because the crime rate is so low.
Yeah, Lob here is saying, or Loeb is saying, police on the West Coast should start at 200K. The incentive, as well as meeting cost of living, is badly needed. See, before all this, I would have said, yeah, you could do 100K and still get a lot of people signing up, but realistically, in a few years, not too many people. If it's an inner city area, not too many people are going to sign up to be cops when they know that they could face severe prosecution or the death penalty in George's case with Garrett Rolfe for doing their job, right? So you're taking a big risk if you become a cop right now, if you're white at least. So, not to mention all the other risks of the job that are there regardless of what race you are. So,
yeah, but the retirement is nice. You get that
if
pension.
you make it,
you get that pension. I mean, because I think some agencies will also, if you did any military service, count that towards your retirement as well.
Oh.
So, like, you can get a retirement. I think it's only 10 years for a police officer to get a pension as well. So you can kind of, it's either double dip or they count it towards one of the two.
Interesting. What are their pensions generally like? Like, I haven't actually looked into that.
I think it matters on your years of service. So the more years you serve, the bigger percentage you get of your salary.
Right.
Which is why I think a lot of the cops, after they're physically unable to do most parts of the job, become like supervisors or the desk people, just trying to work up that pension. But that's another thing with the police. Like, they should have some physical requirements, because I think we all laugh when we see the picture of fat bastard trying to chase down somebody as a cop.
Yeah.
Like, they should have like some sort of physical demands, because at least from a public health perspective, they're going to end up having to replace knees. They're going to have to end up replacing hips and that sort of thing. So it's going to go against the workers' comp, which is going to charge the state more money. So you need to have a program where you got to make sure your officers are physically fit for the duty and not just physically fit after they pass the academy.
Well, I think, I think just at the general level, I think that all countries that have socialized medicine should do this. But especially if you're going to do socialized medicine in the States, it should be a requirement that you have like nationally mandated fitness regimens, that kind of stuff. Because the deal is, you can be one of those, body positive people who thinks, it's okay to get super fat. But you can't be one of those people who then wants free healthcare, because now all of a sudden you're imposing a burden on the public purse, right? So that's my view. So
yeah, and a bunch of companies are moving towards that direction. So like, you can lower your health insurance premiums by doing a wellness program. And that wellness program will include you have to work out so many times a week, you have to get a physical every year, and there's other, like I remember the first one I had to watch a bunch of videos as well on eating healthy and all sorts of other things to try to get the lower insurance premium each month.
Oh yeah.
HR rules the world.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm kind of a boomer right now. I can't really get this this audio working at the moment. I'm gonna, I'll have I'll definitely get more zoomy pretty soon though. I'm gonna get, like as I said, on a previous stream, I'm gonna get solid state drive installed on this. I'm gonna double my RAM, so I'll go back to streaming with video. So I got a boomer laptop, and I'm kind of a boomer, unfortunately. But like computers also being a pain right now. But yeah. It sounds like that guy is a crazy radical who Thomas Curry's probably going to get a job at like Russia Today or something, probably with like Jimmy Dore and Abby Martin and shit. So talk about how whites are bad and stuff. So America's white.
So the other thing, did you guys see the Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan podcast where they talked about a bunch of this police violence stuff?
No, I didn't.
Okay. But you know who Jocko is?
I don't actually.
He's a former Navy SEAL, motivational speaker. Gets up at 4:30 every day and posts pictures on Instagram and Twitter of him and his workout and with inspirational quotes and that. Like very serious kind of Chuck Norris type of figure.
Oh man.
No, but they were talking about chokeholds and how there's a good way and a bad way to do a chokehold. And they were talking about jiu-jitsu or judo, and how like when somebody starts roughing you up, you don't panic, you don't freak out because you've been there before and you know how to handle it. Like it's close quarters, same thing with wrestling, close quarters kind of combat. And when somebody comes at you saying like one of the issues is the cops panic, they either reach for the gun or they don't know what to do because somebody's putting their hands on you, which is something that's common in jiu-jitsu, is they're going to put your hands on you and you figure out how to manipulate, you figure out how to work. And then once you learn that, you can choke people out and they go unconscious for a few seconds, gives you enough time to cuff them, restrain them. And then after that, they're secure. And so like the whole ban on chokeholds is a really idiotic thing. It should be more, we talked about the training the other night, training them how to do a proper chokehold, because it's a great way to seduce somebody versus hitting them on the head with a baton 50 times.
Right. Yeah, no, that's an interesting point right there. I mean, I think
I'm gonna take off, guys.
Yeah, no, have a good night, Henry. Thanks for coming on.
Later.
Peace. Yeah, that's interesting about the whole chokehold thing, because I know that a lot of people would say, well, even entertaining that idea might not make too much sense because there's so many people that are armed right now that like martial arts is probably, not much of a utility anymore. But, if they're unarmed, but they're attacking the cop, obviously this guy was unarmed and he was attacking the cops. Of course, he wound up stealing the guy's taser, so he became armed. But, you get the idea.
If they were trained,
for sure.
Yeah, if they were trained, like as soon as you go to the ground, you feel instantly comfortable. And then based on his positions, you could subdue him in a way where it wouldn't hurt him and it wouldn't hurt you. There wouldn't be an opportunity for him to take that taser because you would have him in a position where he couldn't. The more he struggled, the more he's choked out until he's unconscious. As soon as he's unconscious, you put him in the restraints. He wakes up. He's in the restraints.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, that'd be, a more ideal situation, but unfortunately, and we were talking about this a little while back, a few days ago. If these radicals out there that are doing the protests and the riots and everything, if they get their way and they defund the police, the first thing that's going to go is just the current level of training. There's not going to be any more training. It's going to be less training.
Yeah. Which
So then these incidents are going to happen more often. And I ran that idea by Billy because I was saying, I'm like, it's almost like it was designed so that they make the police less capable to do their job. So they're less well trained. So more incidents happen that are really bad. In other words, they're going to play this game with the public population. And so that they know that more brutality will happen, so that they'll have another excuse to defund the cops again until they can get it so that the cops aren't even really a thing. Billy didn't think that they're that smart. Billy was like, nah, it's not planned or anything. They're dumb and they hate cops. And I think he's probably right. But if you were going to design a way to get rid of the cops in the current system, you would do it one step at a time. You wouldn't just try to outright abolish them right away. You're not going to get anywhere like that. But if they can make it harder for cops to do their job, then they get more of an excuse to say, hey, look, the cops screwed up again. Let's defund them again. Because their point is to fuck the police, right? Like that's their stated objective, right? So,
yeah, that's their stated objective. That's what they're trying to do, because they think, kind of like going back to foreign policy, oh, if we remove the police, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
if we remove the U.S. military from the world, everything's going to be okay. There's going to be no more wars.
Yeah, no more wars ever again. Like that, because that's the thing. Is like I don't know if you guys, like, if you knew this, anybody in the chat knew this, but if you actually study history, before the United States established its military in the 1700s, there were no wars fought in human history. That was the thing that America invented. Like it happened after the American Revolution, the first war. The first war in world history was against the Barbary pirates. There was never a war before then. Everybody got along. It was like Garden of Eden, that kind of stuff. Just everybody got along. And then America happened, and then the world turned to shit. So
yeah, and America created Assad. They created Saddam. They
created Russia.
Osama bin Laden.
China.
I mean, all things bad in life come from America, I guess.
No, America's exceptional. America's always the bad guy in everything.
So yeah, Andrew Yang actually said it would make us all safer if police officers were a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, that's definitively correct. It's just it would cost a lot of money, more funding for the cops to make that happen. You could do it, but you would have to go in the other direction. You'd have to increase funding for cops.
Yeah, which is going to be on the city and states. And, I think some of them are going to review their budget as well and look at certain things and see, do we need this? Do we need that? What can we cut out? And, of course, if you're a police officer, well, night vision goggles are more training. Like, goggles are cool.
No, goggles are cool. Goggles are cool. I like this comment from Arthur. He says, I'm against the cops in China. And I agree. Like, all communist cops are bastards. This guy's out there breaking skulls in Hong Kong because people want democracy, so.
Or like Assad, rolling the tanks on the protesters and start firing.
Oh, yeah. Literally, his whole thing is Assad or we burn the country down. And he proved he meant it. He's burned the country down. 8 million people had to flee. I love how, like, the far right, the paleocons, all these people, the Tucker fans, they always talk about the neocons and look at all the migrants and everything. And it's like, yeah, but if the neocons are in power, there would be no refugees because Assad would have been dead in 2011 and they could have stayed in their own country and have a good country right now with self-determination. Instead, they had to flee to Europe. Like, what these people, in their twisted worldview, they think that the refugees want to leave their homes. Like, what?
Yeah, and it's not like, so what did we have to do with Assad gunning down his own protesters? Nothing. We weren't in Syria performing war. We weren't in Lebanon performing war at that time.
Kyle would say no, but you don't understand though. The U.S. was at war with like 70 different countries and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing is if you go through each of the conflicts, like in his list, he says 7, just throws it out there. But he's somebody who cares about politics or positions, about having positions, not supporting empty platitudes. Well, saying we're bombing 7 countries is an empty platitude. It's not giving depth to that position and the reasons why we are bombing certain areas in these things. Terrorism doesn't stop at borders. ISIS doesn't have a border. And so it's something he doesn't understand. Like he did a video.
A lot of things he doesn't understand.
He did a video like a little while ago about how many bombs we dropped in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And like if you follow the sources, like it's all an assumption. It's based on a 10-day study. Like, yeah, it's very faulty as far as like the data he's using, and it actually goes back. It goes from the field, and then it's collaborated by a couple groups, and then reported by a news agency, reported by another news agency, and then reported by Kyle. Like, how much information do we lose in that telephone game?
Oh man, what a mess! What an absolute mess! I do want to address a comment from Olympian God, though. He says, Kevin, have you read any Robert Kagan books? I started reading The Jungle Grows Back a few months ago. Well, longer than a few months ago, like 6 months ago or whatever. I've been so busy, I haven't really done much reading. I do want to read John Bolton's book in full, though, when I can get my hands on that. But I really like Robert Kagan. I've seen a lot of Robert Kagan talking, though. I like his worldview a lot because, of course, he talks about how there's nothing's written in stone. It's not set in stone that America and the West win at the end of the day, that the good guys win. The good guys could very well lose if the good guys give up, right? It doesn't matter how strong the good guys are. It matters what kind of will they have. And right now, look at the kind of will we have. We're led by a bunch of pigeons. So,
yeah, and then you look at kind of like the way the UN's heading as well. Just look at their Human Rights Commission. The way they are heading. They are stacking the jury against America and Israel in the United Nations.
That's why we should just ignore the UN. We should just cancel the UN. Say we're done. We're done. The UN is completely, like, it used to be a compromise between good and evil. It's become way too far towards the evil side now. We're done. We're just going to make NATO the new UN, and we're not going to care anymore what Russia and China think. They don't get a veto anymore. Yeah, I like what Natalie says, dissolve the UN. People talk about how it's a problem that, like, Russia has the veto and China has the veto, so it's hard to do things. I'm like, I know how to get around their veto. Don't do the UN thing anymore. Act unilaterally or multilaterally within the Western Alliance. And who cares what Putin thinks? And people say, oh, but Putin has nukes. But it's like, yeah, but he'll never use the nukes, because if he uses the nukes, then he doesn't get to keep his swag bends anymore because he's dead. And all he cares about is his palace and shit. So
I will actually push back on that a little bit as far as dissolving the UN, because I believe there's some instances where they can provide a safe space for two countries to talk to each other. Like in the case of Azerbaijan and Armenia, they can set a safe place in like Brussels and they can come and talk. But as far as being an organization that actually has like real power, I think they're a joke. But being an organization where they can bring nations together that will not talk together to talk, I don't think is a bad thing. If that makes sense.
No, I get that. I just see the Security Council by and large is just becoming a total joke. The General Assembly is a total joke. Really, the UN does some good stuff in terms of peacekeeping. Nobody would argue with that. But NATO could just as easily do that. That's the problem. So, I don't like this idea that we're going to compromise with evil and we're going to be so concerned what evil has to say because, but they have militaries too. It's like, yeah, but I don't care. Like, I really don't care what Putin has to say. I know people will say, yeah, but you have to care what he has to say. He has nukes. But it's like, again, he'll never use the nukes because that would be the end of him if he did. So It's like we shouldn't lose sleep over the opinion of Putin. So
yeah,
that's
and we should also, rather than expanding NATO, have a PATO.
Yes, absolutely. In the
Pacific Asian Treaty Organization. Put the Philippines in there, Japan, South Korea,
Taiwan,
and Taiwan.
Maybe see Taiwan right there. That would be the big one because China would flip. They would get so triggered. They'd be like, Taiwan is a country. How can you recognize them as the real Republic of China? We're not going to trade with you anymore. Which, by the way, is a bluff because they're dependent on us in the West for trade. We're not dependent on them. We could substitute to India and we'd be fine. We'd take a short-term financial hit. Whereas for them, that would be the end of their regime. They would go bankrupt. Like, we are everything to them. They, unfortunately, have been given a big percentage of our base, our foundation, but we can change that overnight. We could just move everything to India. They are not that important, and they know it, and they'll bluff, and they'll rely on us being weak and feeble and led by a bunch of neolibs who want to make a quick buck. But they know that if we ever got a real leader who had real political will to act, they'd be done. Because we can just get another country to make cheap stuff for us. That's not an issue. Like, they're not special. They're not special. The only reason they've been able to become special is because we gotten lazy and complacent after the Soviets fell apart. And we need to wake up, and we need to rekindle the hot spirit of Truman and Reagan and all the greats,
Yeah.
Wilson.
It would be a great opportunity to put more countries there in the South Pacific against China. Could you imagine if we got Indonesia and Malaysia on our side?
I love this comment from Nicholas. He says, call it the Jaeger de Pedo.
I like it.
Dude, that's literally, it's your name, man. Pacific Asia Treaty Organization, dude. That's base.
Yep.
No, man. We need to make it happen. There used to be a CETO. It was like a Southeast Asia Treaty Organization back during the Cold War. But it was dissolved, if I recall, right? Like, it was dissolved a long time ago. But
yeah, I'm not against it because it could be an acronym at the end rather than meaning duck. It could be Hunter of Pacific Asian Treaty Organization. Hunting for that because Mr. Roberto called me a globalist earlier, so.
You gotcha. Agenda 21, Soros.
Yep. But you look at some of those countries, you could even do Australia too.
Yes.
Australia, New Zealand. Some of the countries I'm a little bit more kind of sketchy about. Thailand's one.
Yeah.
Kind of a dictatorship.
Kind of, but I'm not too hesitant to work with them because the U.S. worked with Turkey, the U.S. worked with Spain under Franco, the U.S. also worked with Thailand against the Soviets, and Thailand, by and large, was a pretty loyal ally during the Cold War. They never really flirted with the Soviets or anything in the same way that, like, some of the, like, France did and stuff. Like, honestly, Thailand was more reliable. That's the funny thing. Like, Thailand and Spain, even though they were led by fascists, were more reliable allies than, like, France, who was selling Saddam nuclear weapon precursors and shit. So, like, I mean, people say, "Oh, you sound like you have it out against France or whatever." No, I wish that they would just start acting like a Western democracy. It's like it's not enough to have a democracy in your country. You also have to stand in solidarity with other democracies. You can't flirt with the enemy. So, it's like, I don't like the Thailand system. I don't like Franco. But in this kind of conflict that we got going on right now with communist China, there's a bigger evil at foot, and we can pressure those guys to reform later on after communist China is liberated. So, we need allies right now in that sense. So,
yeah, and I think Jakarta and Singapore would probably be after, because we'd probably get Seoul, Tokyo, and then Manila. They would all probably be on board, but I think.
Oh, for sure, man.
Philippines is so
sick. Yeah, Philippines is so sick of what China's been doing in their neck of the woods, basically trying to take maritime territory from them, trying to basically give them the short end of the stick over the South China Sea. They've been doing that to everybody. I mean, Brunei, They've been doing it to Indonesia, Malaysia, obviously Vietnam. I mean, hell, they've been like attacking Vietnamese vessels and stuff in the area. They're getting very belligerent. I'm so sick of this narrative out there. They're like communist China. You don't understand. They're peaceful. They're not going out there bombing people like America is or whatever. It's like,
unless
what?
you pose a threat to them economically. If you pose a threat to them economically, then they get a little bit more hawkish.
Oh, they're actually. I mean, Xi Jinping is pretty hawkish. Xi Jinping right now is mostly curing up, but if you don't do anything and you just let them do whatever they want, he will gain ground. I mean, he's making moves. We're just going to act like, oh, he has no ambitions beyond his own territory, which, by the way, even if that were true, so it's okay that he's got like 1.5 million people in gulags as of the last few years, not to mention all the other people from beforehand. Trump praised that, by the way, according to John Bolton. So did you see this? Like, we'll talk about it on a later stream, but that's amazing, man. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, he's president for life. That's kind of cool. Maybe we should make me president for life. It's like, yeah, that's bad taste, but you could say he's joking. Or, we had beautiful chocolate cake. He's a cool guy and everything. That's one thing. That's pretty disgusting. But to outright just endorse the concentration camps, like that's mask off at that point,
Yeah.
Like, whose side is he on?
He's on Trump's side. There's only one side. It's Trump's side.
Oh man, what a mess! What a mess! Imagine if Harry Truman was just like that. He's like, you know what? I think it was actually a really strong move what Hirohito did, bombing Pearl Harbor. We're actually the bad guys, guys. We're the bad guys. We should just like surrender preemptively and stuff, and just like apologize for being America.
Yeah. One of the interesting things, so Malaysia and Jakarta believes it's Indonesia, Jakarta, they're a Muslim majority country.
The biggest in the world.
And so getting them on our side too, that would be amazing if we could get that. And then Singapore's an economic hub, even though it's really kind of a fascist area. You can't spit on the streets. But I mean, you position yourself in Seoul, Tokyo, Manila, Jakarta, and Singapore, China's cut off. Like even Taiwan, move manufacturing to Taiwan as well.
Yes, we used to do that. Everything used to be made in Taiwan. All the kids' toys and stuff back before like the mid 70s was made in Taiwan, man. Old Hot Wheels and stuff that I've got that were like made in the 60s, 70s, all made in Taiwan. They just say made in Formosa,
Yeah. So we might not even have to move them all the way to India. There's tons of labor down there as well to make products, and
true.
They'll make the products and they would love to do it because it brings their people out of poverty. And I also think, Indonesia would be good too because they have a lot of minerals as well.
No, I agree. Oh man, Kyle Kulinski. He's gonna say like, I knew it. You just want the minerals, man. Where's for oil?
Yeah, but they have to have a place to sell their minerals. And we can offer them protection on their trade routes, and they can sell them to Africa. They can sell them to Europe. They can sell them to other countries in Asia. They can sell them to South America. They can sell them to America, and we can offer them that protection by being an ally with us against China, which is a country kind of devoid of minerals.
But you don't understand. Yeah, you sound like an imperialist and an orientalist and a no good USA mercantilist or whatever the hell buzzword he wants to use. He calls everything. By the way, I mean, again, I always find it funny how this guy has like 800,000 subs because they get like the same video. I mean, I know people say, oh, you talked about this before or whatever, or the streams kind of sound the same or whatever, but I talk about a lot of topics. But with Kyle, almost all of his videos can basically be summarized within like 5 videos. Like 99% of his content is one of 5 videos of the 13,000 he's done. They're all just variations on that. It's just USA bad, neocons bad, ghouls, minerals, $1 trillion minerals, 1 trillion people dead in Iraq. Bush killed 1 trillion people, that kind of thing. You know, it's like Michael Moore tier, really low energy kind of stuff that doesn't take too much energy to think of. Oh, and then there's the cringy nicknames too. That's another thing, you know. But that guy, he's got a lot of subs that just want to watch the same video over and over again. But you right now, you're like their straw man, I guess. You're talking about minerals. You're like,
well, they would be shocked to find out that there's already American companies over there working the minerals, giving people that over there good jobs, a good source of income, and bringing income into the country. Like Freeport McMoran's already over there, and they have gold and copper mines over there in Malaysia or Indonesia already, providing good jobs, good incomes to the people, and producing copper and gold for the rest of the world. So, I mean, American companies are already over there. Might as well protect it. Might as well give them some military defense as well, in case China ever comes coming.
Oh man,
they are.
We just had a weird connection issue. I wasn't able to hear you, and I don't think you were able to hear me for like 30 seconds. That was weird. Okay. Super weird. Maybe it's the Russians or the Chinese or something.
Yeah, I was just saying that there's already American companies over in Malaysia and Indonesia working already. I know in Jakarta, there's an American company, Freeport McMoran, and they're over there mining gold and copper already, giving people good jobs in the country, bringing an income to the country, and providing that infrastructure. Because if we weren't there, Freeport McMoran or the other companies that are over there, China would be in there building that infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like they've tried to do in Africa and have failed miserably multiple times because they don't realize how corrupt some of the countries are that they're dealing with. I want to say not in Namibia, but I think it's Niger. They went in there and spent $8 billion for a copper mine, and it's still not up and running. They still haven't built the mill. They still haven't done that because of issues with the local government there.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Well,
so
we got to wrap up the stream, though, I think, because like I'm kind of tired now, but thanks for coming on. If you want to make any closing remarks, feel free.
Yeah, I think you heard it here first. I support the Jaeger de Pato Pacific Atlantic Treaty Organization, and I have my terms and conditions, and I think everybody should support it. Maybe even get it trending on Twitter. That would be nice. But we'll see. So, but thanks for having me on. It's always fun to come on.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night. Have a good night to everybody in the chat too. And definitely be sure to like the video. Definitely be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. And you can check out my Patreon if you want to support this channel financially. That's patreon.com/Superpower Broadcasting. And finally, don't forget to go follow over on Twitch. We got to get up to 50 followers. We're getting close. Let's get on it. The link's in the description below. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.